Good morning, class. Today we are going to learn again same chapter number 7, diversity in living organisms. This is part 2 video. Yeah, let me share the screen. Yes, class. Last class we have been learned what is meant by biodiversity, taxonomy, biodiversity in the sense variety of living organisms present on earth, taxonomy, identifying organism, giving name, that is nomenclature, and classifying organisms. What is meant by classification, classification and evolution, what is the importance of classification, basis of classification, five kingdom classification, and out of that kingdom Monera, first kingdom, Protista we have learnt, fungi we have learnt, Plantae. I was about to explain kingdom Plantae. This I have done, I guess. Pteridophytes, gymnosperms, yes. Flowering plants done. Yeah, now in today's class, we are going to learn kingdom Animalia. Up to last class, out of 5 kingdoms, we have learned 4 kingdoms. What are those? Kingdom Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae. 4 we have done. The last kingdom is kingdom Animalia. Let us study about kingdom Animalia in this class. So, animals are classified into different phylums as there are vast variety, millions, billions of animals present on earth. It is divided into different phylums, 9 phylums. What are those? Let us see now. Kingdom Animalia is further classified into, before phylums, I would like to tell you, first animals are classified into vertebrates and invertebrates. What are vertebrates and invertebrates? Invertebrates are the organisms which do not possess backbone, and vertebrates are the organisms or animals which possess backbone. So invertebrates are again classified into different phylums. Now let us study about invertebrates. Invertebrates in the sense the organisms which doesn't possess backbone or vertebral column. So, what are the different phylums of invertebrates? The first phylum which comes under invertebrates are Porifera, phylum Porifera. Now, let us say about Porifera. Here, the organisms which comes under Porifera has cellular level of organization. Here, the organism is made by cells, but not tissues, cellular level. Still, the organization is only few cells. It possesses only few cells. These animals have pores all over the body. Here, these animals possess small pores or minute openings throughout the body. So, what is its use? What is its opening use? It acts as a canal system for circulation of water and food. Say, for example, sponges, cycon, they are present in water. So, through these canals or through these pores, water will enter inside the body, and after getting food, so yeah, it may get microorganisms through the food. After getting food, the waste substances are released through the same pores again. The body is covered with a hard outer layer called skeleton, exoskeleton. Here we have endoskeleton. Skeleton is present inside the body, but in case of poriferans, the skeleton is present outside the body. That is why it is called exoskeleton. Commonly known as sponges. Poriferans are commonly called, the organisms which comes under porifera are commonly called sponges. They are aquatic animals. Almost all poriferans, not almost all, 100%, all organisms which comes under poriferans are aquatic in nature. They are present in water, either fresh water or marine water. Example, cycon, spongilla, euplectilla. Next, the second phylum of invertebrates are coelenterate. Again, the level of organization is cellular level. They possess cells but not tissues or organs. There is a cavity in the body, hence the name coelenterate. Why they are called coelenterates? Coelom in the sense empty space. So within the body of these organisms, you can see body cavities, empty space. That is why the organisms are called cylinderates. Next, the body wall is made up of two layers of cells. How many layers of cells are there in that body? Two layers. First layer and second layer. Only two layers of cells. So such kind of organisms or animals are called diploblastic. Di in the sense two, diploblastic, two layers of cells. If there are three layers, triploblastic. We are triploblastic animals. They are also aquatic animals. Cylinderates are aquatic, present in water, either fresh or marine. Examples: hydra, jellyfish, sea anemone. See, children, examples are very, very important. You must practice examples. Next, Platyhelminthes. So, third phylum under invertebrates are Platyhelminthes. Here, the body is flat, dorsi-ventrally, both dorsal side as well as ventral side, just like a palm. It is flat. That is why they are called Platyhelminthes. From top to bottom, they are flat. Hence, they are called flatworms. They are also called flatworms due to the body is flat. The body wall is composed of three layers of cells. As I told you already, cylinderates are diploblastic, whereas Platyhelminthes are triploblastic. The body is made by three layers of cells: outer layer, middle layer, inner layer. Outer, ectoderm. This is out of syllabus, but better you know this. What are the three layers? The outer layer is called ectoderm, middle mesoderm, inner endoderm. Derm in the sense layer. Outer, ecto, E-C-T-O, ectoderm, middle, meso, M-E-S-O, mesoderm, inner, endo, E-N-D-O, endoderm. A true internal body cavity or coelom is present, hence lacks proper organs. Here it possesses, here the true internal body cavity, cavity is also called coelom. Here coelom is absent, hence it doesn't possess any organs. They are free living air parasitic animals. Where they are present, platyhelminthes are usually few organisms, few animals are free living, few are parasitic. Example, Taenia solium, that is, it is one of the worm, Taenia solium. Tapeworm, yes, tapeworm present in human intestine, flat and others like liver fluke present in cattle stomach. So these are all platyhelminthes, belongs to platyhelminthes. These are parasites, grows inside or they are present inside the host body and sucks the blood. Example, planaria, liver fluke and tapeworm. The scientific term of tapeworm is Taenia solium. Next, the fourth phylum is, see children, here from one phylum to another phylum, the organisms are evolved. I mean, they are well developed. In each and every phylum, or what you can see, what type of animals you can see, well developed animals compared to the previous one. Nemathelminthes, also called Aschelminthes. I repeat, Nemathelminthes or Aschelminthes. Fourth phylum. Here, the organisms which comes under Nemathelminthes, the body is bilaterally symmetrical. Listen the terms: bilaterally symmetrical and radial symmetry. Bilateral symmetry and radial symmetry. Just imagine, we are bilaterally symmetrical animals. What is meant by bilateral symmetry? If you place any plane in your body, see vertically, it will divide the body into two equal halves. If you pass any plane in one direction, either vertical or horizontal. Here human bodies, we have to take vertical direction. So that plane can divide our body into two equal parts. So we are bilaterally symmetrical. There are few organisms. If you pass a plane in any direction, it cuts the organisms into two equal halves. Then they are called radial symmetry. If you pass a plane in any direction, if it divides the organism into two equal parts, then it is radial symmetry. If it cuts the organism and divides into two equal halves in only in one direction, then it is bilateral symmetry. Say for example, if we cut our body like this, we will get two equal halves. This is bilateral symmetry. What about here? If I cut here, or exactly horizontally or sideways, it will cut body parts into two equal halves? No, never. What about a spherical ball? Take one ball, pass any plane in any direction. It will cut the body into two equal halves, right? So, organisms whose shape is spherical, then the organisms belongs to radial symmetrical. Those organisms are called radially symmetrical animals, and so we are called bilateral symmetrical animals. Divides the body into two equal halves. So Nemathelminthes, here the body is bilaterally symmetric and triploblastic. I told you already. Triploblastic in the sense body is made by three layers. Two layers only, outer ectoderm, inner endoderm. There is no mesoderm. But in Nemathelminthes you can see three layers, triploblastic. And a pseudocoelom is present. Body is cylindrical in shape. How the body look like? Cylindrical like us. And pseudocoelom is present. A false body cavity is present. Very, very important question. What is pseudocoelom? Pseudo in the sense false, coelom in the sense cavity, false body cavity. Example, roundworms, pinworms, Wuchereria. These three are organisms or animals comes under Nemathelminthes or Aschelminthes. 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 Next, Annelida. Annelids, organisms which comes under Annelida are called annelids. The body is bilaterally symmetrical and triploblastic. Body is made up of three layers of cells. True body cavity is present. From here onwards, you can see true body cavity. The body is divided into segments and hence the name Annelida. You can see in your textbook the picture it depicts. You can see in the upon the body of annelids across bands or cross lines called segments. Extensive organ differentiation. Here you can see different organs. Examples, earthworm and leech comes under Annelida. Arthropoda, arthro, jointed, poda, legs, jointed legs. Animals have jointed appendages, which gives the name arthropoda. The word arthropod means jointed legs. Example, mosquito you see, butterfly, housefly, spider, all these are arthropods. Tough exoskeleton made up of chitin. Here you can see in crab, the outer layer is very tough. Why? That is called exoskeleton actually. Even in housefly, even in butterfly, you can see exoskeleton. Butterfly wings, housefly wings, those are all exoskeleton. Exoskeleton is covered by what? It is made by what? Chitin. It is one of the complex sugar. This is the largest group of animals in terms of number of species. Compared to other phylums, the largest number of animals present under comes under arthropods. Arthropods are the largest phylums. Arthropoda is the largest phylum. They are bilaterally symmetrical and triploblastic. Example, cockroach, housefly, spider, prawn, scorpion. Next, mollusca. The body is again bilaterally symmetrical and the body is very soft. Snail, the body is soft, right? So the body is bilaterally symmetrical and soft, but it is covered with a hard shell made up of calcium carbonate, CaCO3. Circulatory system is open. Open in the sense we have a closed circulatory system. Blood will flow within blood vessels. But in case of open, all organs within our body, our molluscous body, all organs are dipped in blood. There is no separate blood vessel. Blood circulatory system is open. If you cut organism, immediately you will get blood throughout its body filled with blood as well as organs. And kidney-like organ is present for excretion. The body has well developed muscular feet for locomotion. Here you can see that snail, it has a muscular feet. With the help of that muscular feet, it will move or locomotion. Example, snail, mussels, octopus, even octopus. Next, eighth phylum. There are 8 phylums under invertebrates. Echinodermata. The body is covered with spines. Starfish, how it looks like? Throughout the body, you can see spines. Refer your textbook, see the picture. The body is covered with spines, which gives the name echinodermata. In Greek, echino means hedgehog, and derma means skin, hedgehog-like skin. The body is radially symmetrical, the only radially symmetrical animals. Triploblastic, with true coelom, true body cavity. The animals have well-developed water canal system which is used for locomotion. Here throughout the body you can see water canal system through which water will enter and circulate throughout the body. After getting food, that water will go out. Skeleton is made up of calcium carbonate. Here they possess skeleton. Skeleton in the sense not internal, skeleton. It is made up of calcium carbonate. Skeleton is made up of here calcium carbonate, CaCO3. Example, starfish, sea urchin, not sea anemone. Sea anemone comes under this one, what? Mollusca. But sea urchin comes under echinodermata. Next, chordata or vertebrates. Animals have notochord or backbone. Notochord in the sense backbone. Pharyngeal gill slits. Pharyngeal gill slits. And post-anal tail for at least some stages of life. See, we have post-anal tail in the sense, last bone of your vertebral column. That is coccyx. Even gill slits. Gill slits you can see in few vertebrates. And notochord, backbone. These three are compulsory in vertebrates or chordates. They have segmented muscles in an unsegmented trunk, exhibit a complete digestive system. All vertebrates possess complete digestive system, that is starts with mouth and ends with anus. Chordata is further divided into two groups as explained below. Chordates or vertebrates are again divided into two groups. What are those? Protochordata and vertebrata. Protochordata, animals are here, the organisms which comes under protochordata are bilaterally symmetrical, triploblastic, coelomates. Bilaterally symmetrical. If you pass a plane in one direction, the body is divided into two equal halves. Triploblastic, the body is covered by three different layers: outer ecto, middle meso, inner endo. Coelomates, true body cavity is present. Body is bilaterally symmetrical, triploblastic with coelom. Notochord or long rod-like structure which runs along the back of an animal, that is backbone, is present at least at some stages of life. This provides, it is not permanent, only the backbone is present in few stages in a life cycle. This provides attachment points for muscles. It also separates the nervous tissue from the gut. Nervous tissue is different from the digestive system or gut. Example, balaenoglossus, amphioxus. See the picture balaenoglossus in your textbook. Next, vertebrata. As I told you, vertebrates, the organisms which possess notochord or backbone. Here, notochord is only, what is the difference between notochord and vertebral column? Notochord in the sense, during fetal stage or early stage, just like a backbone, bone-like structure or cartilage-like structure arise in the body. So after development, during development, this notochord will be replaced with proper bones called vertebral column. So notochords are present in protochordates and it is replaced in vertebrates by vertebral column or backbone. So notochord is seen in fetal stage and vertebral column is seen in after development or a proper development. Notochord is replaced with vertebral column. Dorsal nerve cord in the sense brain. See dorsally, this is dorsal, this is ventral. Your face is ventral, top side is dorsal. Where your brain is present? Here, dorsal side. So nerve cord or brain cord is present on the dorsal side. Animals are triploblastic again. We are all triploblastic and coelomates. All vertebrates are triploblastic and coelomates. Animals have paired gill pouches. Few animals possess paired gills, respiratory pouches. Vertebrates are further divided into how many classes? Again, 4. Those are Pisces, Tetrapoda. Here it's showing two main classes. One is Pisces, another one is Tetrapoda. Again, Tetrapoda is divided into three. So totally four. So Pisces, as the name indicates, Pisces in the sense fishes. Pisces are commonly known as fish. The body is streamlined like this. The body is streamlined. The body is streamlined. Muscular tail is present with assist in locomotion. Muscular tail, it possesses tail which assists for locomotion or swimming. Streamlined body covered with what? Scales, that you know. They are cold-blooded animals. You know, fishes are cold-blooded. Paired gills are present as respiratory organs. Near the mouth, you can see gills. What is the use of gills? Respiration. The heart is two-chambered. What about heart? Only two chambers. What are those? Upper auricle, lower ventricle. One auricle, one ventricle. The heart is two-chambered. They lay eggs. You know, fishes lay eggs. It won't give birth to young ones directly. Through the eggs, the babies are hatched. Fishes can be bony. Few fishes are bony, few are cartilaginous. Cartilaginous in the sense there is no such a difference between bone and cartilage. Cartilage is a soft bone, that's all. So fishes can be bony like rohu and katla, or cartilaginous like shark. You know, shark possesses only cartilages but not a strong bone. The body is completely filled with muscles. So non-vegetarians, you know, I guess you have seen bony as well as cartilaginous fishes. Next, tetrapoda. Tetra, four, poda, legs. So remaining animals possess four legs. Again, they are classified into three: amphibians, reptilia, and aves and mammalia. One, two, three, four. Totally, animalia, vertebrates are classified under five groups. Pisces, no need to mention this tetrapoda. You can write directly. Animalia is classified into five major groups or phylums. What are the five major classes? You should mention class but not phylum. Animalia is divided into Protochordata and Vertebrata, right? Protochordata, example, Balanoglossus. And Vertebrata. In Protochordata, you can see only notochord, but it is not replaced with vertebral column. But in case of Vertebrata, notochord in young stage or fetal stage is replaced. After that, notochord is replaced with vertebral column. Again, it is divided into five classes. Vertebrata is divided into, I repeat, Vertebrata is divided into five classes. What are those? Class Aves. First one is class Pisces, class Aves, Reptilia, Amphibia, and Mammalia. We have learnt already the Pisces. This tetrapoda is only for your information, extra information. So amphibia, amphibians in the sense amphi, both organisms, animals which live both in land as well as water. They are adapted to live both in water as well as land. Mucus glands on skin keep the skin moist. Just write about frog, that's all. Mucus glands on skin. How the frog skin look like? Have you ever touched it? I didn't touch even a single time. Yeah, if you want to touch it, you can touch and check. The skin is covered with a what? Mucus glands. So that is why it is very slippery. You cannot catch it. If you try to catch it, what will happen? It will escape easily due to the presence of mucus glands on its skin. Respiration is through gills when in water. It has gills as well as lungs. When it is in water, it uses gills. When the frog is in land, it uses lungs. Three-chambered heart. You know, heart is three-chambered. Upper two auricles, lower one ventricle. They are cold-blooded animals. Frogs possess cold blood. Examples: frog, toad, and salamander. Next, reptilia. Reptiles, tail. Usually, the organisms which possess animals which possess tails comes under reptilia. These are crawling animals. They will crawl. Skin covered with, again, scales. Example, you see crocodile. Most of the reptilians have three-chambered heart, but except crocodile. I repeat, all reptiles possess three-chambered heart, that is two auricles and one ventricle, except crocodile. Like humans, it possesses four-chambered heart, two auricles, two ventricles. They don't need water to lay eggs. Here, crocodile lay eggs. All reptiles lay eggs, even snake. Rather, eggs are covered with hard shells and laid on land. They are cold-blooded animals. Again, cold-blooded. Examples: snakes, lizards, crocodile, turtle. Next, aves, birds. The body is covered with feathers. Forelimbs are modified into wings. Actually, forelimbs in the sense hands, hind limbs in the sense legs. Here, hands are modified into wings. Respiratory organs are gills. They are warm-blooded animals. I repeat, birds are warm-blooded. If you have ever touched the bird, you might have seen its body is hot. Why? Because they are warm-blooded. Four-chambered heart. From here onwards, four-chambered. Four-chambered heart. Two auricles, two ventricles. Bones are hollow. If you are non-vegetarians, you might have seen already bone. Inside the bone, it will be filled with a bone marrow, right? Here, bird's bone, it filled with only air. So it is called hollow, empty. That is why the bird's bone is weightless. That's why they can fly. Pneumatic bones, such kind of bones are called pneumatic bones. That is why we cannot fly. If your bones are empty, even you can fly. If you want to try, give a try, but you can never do it. All the birds belong to this class. All the birds belongs to this class. Next, mammalia. It's we. It's us. Yes. Mammary glands are present in females. Why the name mammalia? Due to the presence of mammary glands. Here, females possess mammary glands. Why mammary glands are required? To nurture young ones. Mammary glands produce milk. This milk is necessary to develop a baby, to feed a baby. The body is covered with hair throughout the body. Check your body. Throughout the body, you possess hair. Skin has sweat glands and sebaceous glands. Throughout our skin, we have sweat as well as sebaceous. Sweat glands produce sweat. Sebaceous glands produce oil. If you have more pimples, it means you have more sebaceous glands. Most animals are viviparous. Here, mammals are classified into two types: viviparous and oviparous. Vivi, in the sense, the organisms or animals give birth to young ones directly. Ova means egg. Oviparous animals, organisms or animals which lay eggs first, and then from the eggs, babies are hatched. Example, only two. Only egg-laying mammals are two: Echidna, platypus. I repeat, take a note. I have not given here. Echidna, 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 and platypus, Platypus, platypus. These two are egg-laying mammals. Remaining all mammals are viviparous. I repeat, viviparous, animals which give birth to young ones directly. Oviparous, animals which lay eggs. The egg-laying mammals are Echidna and platypus. Other examples of mammals are humans, horse, chimpanzee, lion. We are all belongs to same category. Yes. Yes, class. This is about kingdom Animalia. Now let us see about binomial nomenclature. Very, very important question. Go through it. See, what is mean by binomial nomenclature? Bi in the sense two, nomial in the sense names, giving two names, giving scientific names to the organisms. If you call chimpanzee, we know what is chimpanzee or monkey, right? If you go to any other countries and say chimpanzee or monkey, they will see your face like this. They cannot understand anything. Why? Because this is not universal language. So scientific terms, our binomial nomenclature is a universal language. Here we use few terms. Only these scientific terms are permanent and it can be understood throughout the world. Yes, binomial nomenclature system was given by Carolus Linnaeus. Who gave the who introduced binomial nomenclature? Carolus Linnaeus in the year 1707 to 1778. He suggested scientific name to each organism to prevent confusion over different names in different languages. So, what is meant by binomial nomenclature? Giving scientific name. Say, for example, out of two words, there should be a two words, by names, two names. The first name indicates genus, second name indicates species. First name indicates genus, second name indicates species. Example, human beings. Human beings are also called Homo sapiens. Homo is a genus name. Sapiens is a species name. One more plant, Mangifera indica, mango plant. Mangifera is a genus, indica is a species. So conversion for writing the scientific name. While writing, there are few rules you should follow. While writing scientific name, you should follow few rules. Let us see what are those rules. The binomial name is composed of two terms. The first term is called genus and the second term is called species. Just now I told you. The genus name always begins with capital letter. Let me have a small text. Yes, I will use it. I will give you one example how to do it. See, the genus name always begins with a capital letter. Say, for example, I'm taking mango plant, or shall I take one more? Yeah, potato. Okay, Solanum tuberosum. Potato is also called, a scientific term of potato is Solanum tuberosum, or mango plant Mangifera indica. So the first name is genus. So genus name should be always, the initial letter should be capital. So I have written capital. Mangifera, right? Remaining should be small. Mangifera. This is genus name, right? And second term is called species, while the species name begins with a small letter. Give a space, starts with small letter. Species, small s. See, I'm not writing. This is capital S. You should not write capital S. You should write only small s. Species name starts with, yes, I mean small letter or lowercase. Indica, Mangifera indica. Small I, you should not write capital I, starts with small I. I mean species name starts with small letter. Indica, Mangifera indica. This is perfect what? Binomial nomenclature of mango tree. In print, the scientific name is written in italics. Yeah, see, if it is handwritten, it should be in italics. Okay. Yeah, one sec. Yeah, one more I'll show you. Yeah. In print, the scientific name is written in italics. When handwritten, the genus name and species name have to be underlined separately. See, like this. First letter should be, is it right? No, it should be capital. Mangifera indica. When it is handwritten, it should be underlined. Yeah. Let me use pencil. Yeah, see. Yeah, I'm trying to use pencil now. Just a sec. See, should be underlined separately like this. Yeah, separately. Underlined should be separately. When handwritten, the genus name and the species name have to be underlined separately. So whenever your teacher asks you to write scientific name of any organism or any plant, you should write, start with capital letter, the genus name, the species name should be small letter. Okay, but don't forget to underline. Even you can write like this. I will show you. If you feel it is very difficult, see, Mangifera indica, capital M, full stop, indica. You can give like this. And again, use underline. Yeah. See, M, underline, indica, underline. Like this also you can write. If you feel difficulty in remembering names. Yes, class, this is about, if you give full stop, it indicates it's a full form. It is abbreviated form. Yeah. Yes, class, go through this video. If you have any doubts, ask me in live class. Very, very important chapter. Go through this video properly. Thank you.